Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is our Prophets of Awakening. It's our evening Sabbath class, 20th of October, of August, 2022. We'll be dealing with the book of 2 Samuel. I think it's 19 and 20 chapters. I'm asking everybody to like, share, and subscribe to Prophets of Awakening channel. Hit the notification button if you can. It'd be greatly appreciated. This is a non-Messianic channel. We're dealing with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh is the Old Testament, the so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Shalom and welcome to Prophets of Awakening channel, and welcome to our evening Sabbath class. We're going to do our moment of silence, our evening Sabbath prayer, our Psalms, some current events. We do a little need to know information, and we'll open it up for some Q&A, and then we'll go into our picking up our Bible reading out of and discussion out of the book of 2 Samuel. So with that being said, it's going to do our moment of silence, which is in reference to the Lord of hosts and our Creator Yahweh and all that they're doing to bring about our prophesied regathering of His people. Oh Lord, we come before Thee at this hour, at the end of your Sabbath day of rest, praising You, honoring You because of the position both in heaven and upon earth, the position in which Creator Yahweh have given unto Thee. And through Your Spirit and counsel, oh Lord, we have awakened. We have awakened to who we are as a people and who You are as our Savior and our Redeemer. We are thankful for all that You have done, and we are eagerly searching Your scriptures out that we may be in the right place at the right time upon Your arrival to this planet. Peace be unto You, and we will praise You forevermore. Shalom. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to deal with a little Psalms. Okay, I read Psalms, I think this morning, Psalm 21. I'm going to read Psalm 22. It's a cry of anguish and a song of praise. It's a song of David. My God, why hast Thou forsaken me? Why art Thou so far from helping me and from the words of my roaring? O God, I cry in the daytime, but Thou hearest not, and in the night season I am not silent, but Thou art holy. O Thou that inhabited the praises of Israel. Our fathers trusted in Thee. They trusted, and Thou didst deliver them. They cried unto Thee, and were delivered. They trusted in Thee, and were not confounded. But I am a worm, and no man, a reproach of men, and despised of the people. All they that see me laugh me to scorn. They shoot out the lips. They shake the head, saying, He trusted on the Lord, that He would deliver him. Let Him deliver him, seeing He delighted in him. But Thou art He that took me out of the womb. Thou didst make me hope when I was upon my mother's breast. I was cast upon Thee from the womb. Thou art my God from my mother's belly. Be not far from me, for trouble is near, for there is none to help. Many bulls have compassed me. Strong bulls of Bashan have beset me round. They gape upon me with their mouths, like a raving and roaring lion. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint, and my heart is like wax. It is kneaded in the midst of my bowels. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue cleaveth to my jaws. And Thou hast brought me into the dust, for dogs have compassed me, and assembly of wicked have and clothe me. They pierced my hands and my feet. I am. I may tell all my bones. They look and stare upon me. They part my garments among them and cast lots upon my vesture. But be not far from me, O Lord, O my strength. Has thee has thee to help me. Hasten to help me. Deliver my soul from the sword, my darling from the power of the dog. Save me from the lion's mouth. For thou hast heard me from the horns of the unicorn. I will declare thy name unto my brethren. In the midst of the congregation will I praise thee. Ye that fear the Lord, praise him. All ye the seed of Jacob, glorify him and fear him. All ye the seed of Israel, for he hath not despised nor abhorred the afflictions of the afflicted, neither have he hid his face from him. But when he cried unto him, he heard. My praise shall be of thee in the great congregation. I will pay my vow before thee that fear him. The meek shall eat and be satisfied. They shall praise the Lord that seek him. Your heart shall live forever. All the ends of the world shall remember and turn unto the Lord, and all the kindreds of the nations shall worship before thee. For the kingdom is the Lord's, and he is the governor among the nations. All they that be fat upon the earth shall eat and worship. All they that go down to the dust shall bow down before him, and none can keep alive his own soul. A seed shall serve him. It shall be accounted to the Lord for a generation. They shall come and shall declare his righteousness unto a people that shall be born, that he have done this. So that was Psalms 22. And anybody have any comments on anything they heard? So this Psalm 22, verse 12, should shine a light on this. It says, David says, verse 11, be not far from me, for trouble is near, for there is none to help me. Many bulls have compassed me. Strong bulls of Bashan have beset me round about. So if you go back to the scriptures, when you get some time, just Google that Bashan. And if you notice, it was a king. It was a kingdom. It was a king. The king of Bashan. So them were giants. So he says, many bulls have compared me about strong bulls. So when you understand what Enoch described to us, and he broke it down, was when these giants died, the spirit didn't come from heaven. The spirit stayed here. So this is what we're talking about. The spirits of those giants, in particular the ones from Bashan, out of Bashan, like King of Bashan, Og, Shahan, and all them. Although they passed, the spirit still upon the earth, roaming the earth. And then it also goes back to, like I said, when the Most High created hell, Sheol, when those fallen angels came down, and he told the seven angels to bind them and put them in the midst of the earth. So that place was created for those fallen angels. And like I was showing you, we know they came down in Egypt. That's where they came down here. That's why Egypt is so renowned to this day, because that's where they came down. There were giants all over Egypt, all over the land of Egypt. They didn't want to build the pyramids. And so that's why Cyrus is the god of the underworld. The underworld is the place he created for them. And then they created Serapis, he got of the underworld. When JC died, that's where he went. So just the puzzle was coming more and more together every day. More and more information. Getting more and more plain. Okay? So any comments? Okay, so let's go into these current events. Okay.
African countries are being threatened by the US. And this comes after, it's just, you can't make this up. After the US Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, came to Africa, visited a few African countries, and told us that we should not be dictated. We should be partners. And that's what US decides to do. Like, that's what US is all about. And he told us all about the strategies and everything. That's nice. And I called BS. So, I mean, for those of you that believed in his speech, well, I guess now you'll have to reevaluate what you have been told. So basically, the US ambassador to the United Nations, Linda Thomas Greenfield, was visiting Ghana and also Uganda. So during her visit, in an interview, she said, quote, countries can buy Russian agriculture products, including fertilizer and wheat. But if a country decides to engage with Russia, where there are sanctions, then they are breaking those sanctions. By those products, she means oil and natural gas. We caution countries not to break those sanctions because then they stand the chance of having actions taken against them. So basically, US is saying two different things. On one side, they're telling us, we won't be dictating you anymore. We're friends, we're pals. And then on the other, they're telling us, if you buy gas and oil from Russia, it's the end. You'll see what we're going to do. Because she literally said, quote, we caution countries not to break those sanctions because then they stand the chance of having actions taken against them. She said, there is going to be action that is going to be taken if an African country decides to deal with Russia. If this is not a threat, if this is not bullying, I don't know what is. This is an actual threat. If you say something and after that sentence you say, or else action is going to be taken, I don't know how else to take this other than this is a threat. So a lot of African countries didn't take this lightly. People on social media were having a field day. Like, they were responding to her comments. They were, putting what Blinken said, what Biden has been saying, and then now what the US ambassador to the UN has said. And they were like, is this the same country making this totally different kinds of statements? So it tells you how they really feel about us. So at the end of the day, it's up to each African countries to decide who they will deal with, who is going to benefit them, and who to trade with. US is not the boss of these countries. We have every right to make that decision on our own. And I hope our leaders act accordingly. Anyways, fam, let us know down below what your thoughts are about this. I am Wangil Zalalam. I'll see you on the next one.
Okay. Any comments on that? Yeah, I showed you the video the other day of the Secretary Blinken was telling them Africa, they wanted to be with him, side with him. And now, all of a sudden, now they're trying to bully him around, tell him what to do. Business as usual. Okay? Just like Esau and European. Okay? Here we go.
Show you some photos before we move on to the next story. And this is the state of Europe's Oder River. Its fish are dying en masse. Chances are someone poisoned them. This is where the Oder River is located on the map. It is some 840 kilometers long. The river runs from the Czech Republic, flows along the border between Germany and Poland, and then flows into the Baltic Sea. This river has been poisoned. Fish of all shapes and sizes have been killed. Their carcasses are floating on the surface of the river. Troops have been called in to help to fish out these dead fish. Poland alone has deployed some 2,000 police officers, 300 firefighters, and 200 soldiers. Boats are being used, so are quad bikes, dams, and drones. Over 100 tons of dead fish have been recovered so far. And this may just be the start. So what exactly is happening here? No one knows for sure. It is a mystery, one that Poland wants its people to solve. They've announced a reward of $220,000 to anyone who helps find the perpetrators. The hunt is on. Meanwhile, the dead fish were tested in a lab. They had no trace of toxic substances, although they did show elevated levels of salt. What does that mean? Some hypotheses have been drawn up. One, it is possible that there was an increase in water pollutants. It is also possible that the water salinity had increased. This happens when temperatures rise, the water dries up, and the salt level of the remaining water increases. Possibility number two is industrial waste. Samples from the river show evidence of harmful chemicals. But what Poland is going after is the possibility of arson. Someone or some industry could have poisoned the river, killed all the fish, and triggered an ecological tragedy. Germany has asked its citizens to not bathe in the Oder or fish in it. Both Germany and Poland are now on alert. They say they're working together to clean up the river and dispose the dead fish.
It is clear that we are facing a really bad environmental catastrophe that has at least resulted in a serious amount of dead fish. We do not know yet how long and how extensive the environmental impacts will be in the ecosystem, or in the next weeks, months, or years.
Im Ökosystem oder in den nächsten Wochen, Monaten.
In reality, though, there's politics at play. Poland is located upstream and Germany is downstream. Since the river flows from Poland to Germany, chances are whatever happened to it happened in or near Poland. Germany says it was not informed about the fish deaths until the second week of August. The mass deaths were first noticed in a southern town of Poland on the 26th of July, but Germany was alerted only on the 9th of August, and that too by a boat captain. Green activists say Poland did not do enough to mitigate this crisis, to stop this ecological disaster from snowballing. Also, not notifying Germany about possible river contamination is a breach of an international treaty. Germany says it found high concentration of mercury in the Oder River. Now, this is a claim that Poland refutes.
As of today, none of these water tests have confirmed the presence of toxic substances. At the same time, we are conducting tests on fish. We've completed fish tests for mercury and heavy metals. Neither mercury nor heavy metals were found in the collected samples.
Clearly, there's more conflict than cooperation. Back in Poland, the Oder tragedy has led to high-level sackings. The situation has become political, and Poland is looking for a villain to shift all the blame to.
We're interested in the prompt identification of the perpetrators, and as such, there is a reward of 1 million zlotys for the person who helps us identify them.
You know,
Okay. Any comments? Sound like the 10 plagues to me. What you think?
We see a lot of that going on.
Is there something? Yeah, like I said, it's a cause and effect. We get a bunch of dead fish, then it's gonna cause something else. Especially that many. He said he made the frogs come out, he turned the water into blood. And then that caused the frogs to come out of the water, the fish died, and then when the frogs came out of the water, the people got boils on them. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's gotta be registered in their mind. Something wrong if it's not. Okay. So with that, it's got a little need to know information. Let me get that.
Eventually will result in an economic slowdown. So I'm afraid that the bears on this one have a pretty strong argument that concerns me a lot. You avoid taxation or any sort of government rules about kidnapping fees or things until we get there, which we're absolutely not.
Bill Gates has been selling his stocks to prepare for one of the worst economic disasters in history. Gates is known for being a CEO, and he's even better at capital growth. Through the help of his fund manager, Michael Larson, Gates managed to make $50 billion over the past 20 years. Gates and Larson not only made billions from the bull run, but also successfully prepared for the dot-com bubble and the 2008 recession. This has allowed him to consistently beat the S&P 500 and grow his wealth to new heights. Gates and Larson are now aggressively preparing for what will become one of the worst recessions of all time. It's no secret that the economy is in a tough position. The US economy is undergoing accelerating inflation, the lowest consumer sentiment in history, the Russia-Ukraine war, low consumer savings rates, and record high debt levels. The government pumped trillions of dollars into the economy in 2021. 2022 is the complete opposite of that, with the government pulling back trillions of dollars out of the economy. Gates is especially concerned about the artificial trap that the Fed created for themselves. The economy is currently being hit by a double-edged sword. One edge of the sword is accelerating inflation, and the other edge is the massive level of government debt. The government now has two choices: to destroy the US dollar or crash the economy at the risk of popping the debt bubble. The Fed has decided to go with the second choice of slowing the economy at the risk of an unprecedented collapse. We recently saw the Fed raise interest rates by 75 basis points, which is the largest increase since 1994. This increase helps substantially with slowing inflation, but it comes at substantial risk. First of all, raising rates that sharply means that borrowing will cost significantly more for business investments and mortgages. Rates on the 30-year fixed-rate mortgage recently increased by the largest one-week jump in 35 years. If this increase in interest rates slows the economy too much, it could pop the existing debt bubble and spiral the economy into a recession or depression.
So since we last talked, small thing has happened. Russia has invaded Ukraine, and it feels like we're in a new world. We are going to be seeing higher energy prices, higher food prices for years to come. It seems difficult to see how this resolves itself very quickly. What does that say to you about the economic outlook for the next few years?
Well, it comes on top of the pandemic, where government debt levels were already very, very high, and there were already some supply chain problems. And so it's likely to accelerate the inflationary problems that rich world economies have, and force an increase in interest rates that eventually will result in an economic slowdown. So I'm afraid that the bears on this one have a pretty strong argument that concerns me a lot.
The bear thesis that Gates is talking about makes complete sense. A surge in oil prices is strongly correlated with recessions. The gray areas in this chart are periods in which the US economy was in a recession. You can see how every time Brent crude oil crosses $100 per barrel, a recession almost always follows. Brent crude oil is currently at roughly $120 per barrel, signaling that a recession is coming. The reason why a recession almost always follows oil prices breaking $100 is because rising oil prices are a tax against the consumers. High gas prices take money directly out of the consumer's pocket. This not only leaves the consumer with less money to spend, but it also drastically lowers consumer sentiment. The University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index shows that the consumer sentiment is currently the lowest it has been since the 2008 recession. The economy works in cycles, with debt levels continuously peaking and bottoming in a cyclical form. Gates and Larson recognized that 2021 represented a period of immense speculation. The complete opposite of this is coming: a considerable economic slowdown. In preparation for a collapse in the US stock market, Gates and Larson have been implementing a variety of hedging strategies. One of these strategies includes shorting stocks. Unlike long positions, short positions don't have to be disclosed to the public. The SEC is trying to change this with a new proposal, but until that goes through, we have no idea what stocks Gates is actually shorting. With that being said, we know that Gates has a short position against Tesla stock because Elon confirmed it himself. Gates touts himself as a strong supporter for sustainable technologies, but Musk believes that his Tesla short position contradicts this. Musk tweeted that since Gates still has a multi-billion-dollar short position against Tesla, while claiming to help with global warming, I guess I have some trust issues with him too. Gates is already down over $1 billion on his Tesla short position, but he clearly hasn't closed out his position yet. Elon explained how it was $500 million, but then Tesla went up a lot, so now it's $1.5 billion to $2 billion to close it out. Gates and Musk were about to meet to talk about philanthropy, but leaked messages showed that Gates' Tesla short position hindered the meeting from occurring. Gates texted, 7:20 on Wednesday to be clear, to which Elon replied by saying, great. Gates then told Elon that he just landed. Elon said, cool. Do you still have a $500 million short position against Tesla? Gates admitted that he had a short position by replying, sorry to say I haven't closed it out. I would like to discuss philanthropic possibilities. Musk confirms that these leaked messages were true and claims that Gates having a Tesla short position isn't top secret at all. Though Tesla stock experienced substantial price appreciation in 2021, the epitome of the bubble was the rise of NFTs. NFTs like the Bored Ape Yacht Club rose by hundreds of percent before recently dropping by over 80% in 2 months. While there is long-term potential for the Ethereum platform, there's no reason for pictures of apes to be trading for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Gates recently criticized the Bored Ape Yacht Club for the lack of utility that it provides.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, expensive, digital images of monkeys are going to improve the world immensely.
We all agree on that.
And, that's so incredible. Anyway, I'm used to asset classes where, like a farm, where they have output, or a company where they make products. To have an asset class that's 100% based on sort of greater fool theory that somebody's going to pay more for it than I do, and where it has at its heart sort of this anonymity that you avoid taxation or any sort of government rules about kidnapping fees or things.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not involved in that. I'm not long or short any of those things.
At the time that I'm recording this video, the S&P 500 is still over 15% higher than its pre-pandemic peak. Gates sees no reason for that to be the case. The economy was much stronger before the pandemic hit. Consumer activity was booming, and the supply side was as well. The pandemic has a serious impact on both consumers and suppliers. Money printing can't just boost economic activity back to pre-pandemic levels. The economic impact of the pandemic is still being felt today.
The behavior of people in terms of wanting to travel or go to events or even go to a restaurant, it's been utterly changed by the concerns about this disease. And so until we can say to people that we're tracking this thing so well that actually going out to your job, to a car factory, to a construction site, that those are safe enough that we feel confident you can do those things. Until we get there, which we're absolutely not, no one should think the government can wave a wand and all of a sudden, the economy is anything like it was before this happened. That awaits either a miracle therapeutic that has an over 95% cure rate or broad usage of the vaccine. And so, we've had a demand side shock and a supply side shock. And that demand side piece is both mediated by fear of infection and by the overall wealth effects of many people losing their jobs, and entire industries will be operating at a far lower level than in a normal economy.
In addition to
Okay, like I said this morning, where they at and the things that they doing is far beyond what we dealing with. That's their role, their position. The Most High got me. But the things that we think about on a day-to-day basis, they think about something else totally different. It don't mean humans and the economy, and the environment don't matter to them. Yeah. And like I said, just his actions alone tell you he knows something getting ready to happen, because what he doing is no different than what the Rothschilds did back when they lied about Napoleon being conquered. They knew the whole time, they knew that if they sent a message out that Napoleon had been conquered, all the people was going to sell all their stock and bum rush the stock market and bum rush the banks and sell all their stock. And when they done that, they came in and bought everything up, and then come to find out Napoleon had lost. They told everybody Napoleon had won, but he had actually got defeated. So they came in, and we dealing with that. We dealing with repercussions of that right now, because they have pretty much 2/3 of the money, the world's wealth right now, in their possession. And they're dictating everything. And they're wicked as hell. Okay. So with that being said, anybody have any comments? Okay, I'm opening it up for questions or comments, and anybody have anything they want to bring up so I can questions so I can get some answers to it about this morning or earlier today or whatever, earlier in the class. Okay. I wanted to play this video. I didn't get a chance to play it last night, so I'm trying to squeeze it in now. It's about Serapis.
Serapis Christus was an Egyptian god, but not one of the original Egyptian gods. What makes him interesting is that he was also worshipped prevalently in Greece, Rome, and other places all over the world. He is the incarnation of the spirit, or the sun, of the creator of the Egyptian mythologies. He's an oracle of wisdom. He's god of the dead, and he serves as judge of the underworld. But he's also the god of resurrection, so he was known as being a god of healing. He was worshipped with sacrificial bulls on an annual basis, which represented continual entry into the eternal afterlife. Believers of him formed the cult of Serapis. Cult meaning cultivators, because the spread of Serapis was very deliberate. Leaders of the cult were called bishops of Christus. Christus, kind of like Christ, is a title meaning savior or messiah. And aside from the Egyptian origin, Serapis Christus does sound a lot like Jesus Christ. Serapis doesn't belong to any one original mythology. He's a combination of the original Egyptian gods, mainly between two, Osiris and Apis. There are many different variations of myths that are passed down for generations, but the gist of it is that Isis, who claimed to be the Great Virgin, had a brother and consort named Osiris. Osiris is a unique god because he actually dies in Egyptian myth, when other gods tend to stay immortal. When he dies, Isis magically and temporarily resurrected him to be with him for one last time. Osiris is therefore worshipped as the god over the dead and the god of resurrection. Apis is a bull, and he's an offspring of Isis. He's the incarnation of the spirit of the creator, and he serves as a mediator between mankind and Osiris. In worshipping Apis, believers would sacrifice bulls as a symbol of unity with Osiris. Combined, they merged into a Serapis, who essentially replaced Osiris as the mythology moved through time. A Serapis was the consort of Isis, not the sun, but he was still associated with the whole Virgin Mother idea. He was both the god of resurrection and the incarnation of the Creator, and he was worshipped with sacrificial bulls. The idea of a Serapis began in Memphis, Egypt, but it was picked up by Ptolemy. He was a Greek, a contemporary and successor of Alexander the Great, and he became pharaoh over Egypt for a time. He wanted to find a way to unify Egypt and Greece, so he created the cult of Serapis. A Serapis was already so vague and ill defined, it wouldn't be difficult to add in some Greek influence. Thus, Serapis became the peacemaker between two peoples. Ptolemy built a massive temple called the Serapeum next to the library at Alexandria. The library was the hub of education of the ancient world, and people would make pilgrimages to it. By default, they also had a lot of access to the temple. Not only did the cult of Serapis spread because travelers took word of him back home with them, but the religion became more refined with heavy influence from Greek philosophy. That is why Serapis is often depicted more like a Greek statue rather than a two-dimensional Egyptian painting. Now, with the influence of Greece, Serapis became not only the god of resurrection, but the judge of the underworld. He owns a three-headed dog from Greek mythology. He's also depicted as having an open mouth, signifying that he is an oracle of philosophy and wisdom, which probably comes from the library. He was also known to help wheat crop, so he also has a container of wheat sitting on his head, which we'll come back to later. Because of the pilgrims to the library, word of Serapis spread all over the known world. He had heavy influence in the Roman Empire once it came about, and there has been evidence of him as far north as the British Isles and as far east as India and, debatably, even some parts of China. Serapis spread so easily because he wasn't tied down to any one mythology. He was a sort of sponge god, able to soak in and adapt and adopt whatever culture he was taken to. During the Roman Empire, a letter was written by Roman Emperor Hadrian claiming that Christians actually worshipped Serapis. This suggests that the lore about Jesus Christ may have originated in the myths of Serapis Christus, and this is a popular interpretation of many people today. The bishops of Christus may have become Christians. Jesus' resurrection may be a retelling of Osiris's death and resurrection. Jesus is the incarnation of God the Father, just as Apis is the incarnation of the Spirit of the Creator. Jesus is a mediator between God and man by being a sacrificial lamb. Apis is a mediator between Osiris and man with offerings of sacrificial bulls. Jesus was born of a virgin, while the great virgin Isis was the mother of Apis. Isis's Ankh, which is an ancient rudimentary depiction of the female reproductive organs, and that may be where we get the symbol of the plus below the circle to mean female, that is thought to be the original cross of Jesus Christ. Besides, wearing a bunch of wheat on your head could easily be interpreted as wearing a crown of thorns. Many people today believe that this is a valid explanation of the source of Christianity, that this old Egyptian Grecian myth is where the idea of Jesus came from. There are actually quite a number of people today who believe we should go back to the origins and seek Serapis rather than the Jesus produced by modern culture. But the timeline doesn't quite support this theory. See, Hebrews were enslaved in Egypt around 1300 BC, give or take about 400 years, because they were there a while. At the time, they didn't have many detailed prophecies about Jesus, just this idea that a seed was coming, which was allured to in Genesis. In Egypt, stories of Serapis hadn't been invented yet either. So, influence on each other wouldn't have happened this early, but it is notable that the Hebrews and Egyptians had a long history together, and ties weren't completely severed. It wouldn't be unheard of for the two cultures to keep in touch to some extent. Around 750 BC, again with numbers rounded, the prophet Isaiah and his contemporaries, in other words, the writers of most of the Old Testament, began proclaiming more detailed prophecies about Jesus, such as how he would be born of a virgin, how he would be killed to save people of their sins, how he would rise again, even that he would be born in Bethlehem. These prophecies came before the first record of Serapis, which was around the time of Alexander the Great, for context. Serapis doesn't become a major cult until 300 BC, when Ptolemy built the Serapeum beside the library. Fast forward to Jesus' birth. We know that even as a child, Jesus was already stirring up a lot of controversy.
Yeah, I had to interject right there because what she don't understand is the missing link is they got a hotel records, Israelite records. That's how he transformed himself. When they got hotel records and looked and seen how everything, how the Israelite culture worked, and how Israel had a redeemer and Israel had a Messiah, then they superimposed them into there. That's what she not understanding.
See, the thought of the king of the Jews being born seemed like a threat to the unrightfully throned King Herod, who called for an infant genocide across Bethlehem. Fleeing the scene, Jesus' mother Mary and adopted father Joseph took child Jesus to none other than Egypt. That's right, they stayed there for quite some time, meaning that the Virgin Mary and her son Jesus, carrying with them all the prophecies about the Jewish Messiah, set up camp in the birthplace and refining center of the cult of Serapis. Then, about 100 years after Jesus was crucified, Emperor Hadrian made that claim that Christians were sketching their Christ from the model of Serapis. By the time he made this claim, though, Jesus had already been out of the picture for a century, and the Old Testament had ended even 4 more centuries before that, meaning that the Old Testament prophecies about virgin births and resurrecting saviors had been circulating through the culture for at least 500 years before Serapis even entered the Roman Empire. Besides that, the Christian faith, even the Jewish faith, is very centered on "you shall have no other gods before me," or "I am the same yesterday, today, and forever." These attitudes and ideas that God is God and nothing is going to change that. The cult of Serapis, however, took a little bit of this Egypt, took a little bit of that Egypt, borrowed a bit from Greek philosophy. It wouldn't be surprising if they were also influenced by the Hebrews, who had been on their mind since 1300 BC. If that's not convincing enough, many scholars discredit Emperor.
Yeah. Any comments on that? Anybody see any holes in that? Okay. Okay. So nobody have any comments on that, but like I was saying, she not even in a position to even talk to deal with that. She had no clue. But one of the things I noticed in there, I was how you see how they had Serapis tied to wisdom. So like they they flopping that wisdom all over the place. They had Athena was wisdom one time, and Isis. So yeah, okay. Like I said, all this didn't come about. He didn't get blown up until they got onto our records. An example is we know Abraham was the star was in the sky with Abraham. We know Moses was the greatest prophet ever, and they attached to all them stories. We know David was born in Bethlehem. We know Moses had 2 years old, children was killed because of him. All them stories, they attached Jesus to him. They weren't able to do that until they got Hotel Records. That's what blew him up. Okay, and the Psalms of David. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna read a little bit. We're gonna be along. I'm in second Samuel, and I'm gonna start pick up where I left off this morning. We're almost about to finish with second Samuel. Okay. And okay. I'm in verse chapter 20 of 2 Samuel. It says, and there And there happened to be there a man of Belial, whose name was Sheba, the son of Berechiah the Benjamite. And he blew a trumpet and said, We have no part in David, neither have we inheritance of the son of Jesse. Every man to his tent, O Israel. So every man of Israel went up from after David and followed Sheba, the son of Berechiah, but the men of Judah clave unto their king, from Jordan even unto Jerusalem. And David came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took 10 women, took the 10 women, his concubines, whom he had left to keep the house, and put them in a ward, and fled and fed them, but went not in unto them. So they were shut up until the day of their death, living in widowhood. Then said the king to Ashma, Assemble me the men of Judah within 3 days, and be thou here present. And Amasa went to assemble the men of Judah, but he tarried longer than his set time which he had appointed him. And David said to Abishai, Now shall Sheba, the son of Berechiah, do us more harm than did Absalom. Take thou thy Lord's servants and pursue after him, lest he get him fenced cities and escape us. And there went out after him Joab's men and the Sharites and the Pelethites and all the mighty men, and they went out to Jerusalem to pursue after Sheba the son of Berechiah. And when they were at the great stone, which is in Gibeon, Amasa went before them, and Joab's garment that he had put on was girded onto him, and upon it a girdle with a sword fastened upon his loins, and the sheath thereof. And as he went forth, it fell out. And Joab said to Amasa, Art thou in help, my brother? And Joab took Amasa by the beard with the right hand to kiss him. But Amasa took no heed to the sword that was in Joab's hand. So he smote him therewith in the fifth rib, and shed out his bowels to the ground, and struck him not again, and he died. So Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursued after Sheba, the son of Berechiah. And one of Joab's men stood by him and said, He that favoreth Joab, and he that is for David, let him go after Joab. And Amasa wallowed in the blood in the midst of the highway. And when the men saw that all the people stood still, he removed Amasa out of the highway into the field, and cast a cloth upon him. And when he saw that everyone that came by him stood still, when he was removed out of the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue after Sheba, the son of Berechiah. Okay, says and he went through all the tribes of Israel unto Abel and unto Beth Machah and all the Berkites, and they were all gathered together and went also after him. And they came and besieged him in Abel of Beth Machah. And they cast up a bank against the city, and it stood in the trench, and all the people that were with Joab battered the walls to throw it down. Then cried a wise woman out of the city, Hear, hear, say I pray you, unto Joab, come near hither, that I may speak with thee. And when he was come near unto the curb, the woman said, Art thou Joab? And he answered, I am he. Then she said unto him, Hear the words of thine handmaiden. And he answered, I do hear. Then she spake, saying, They were wont of to speak in old times, saying, They shall surely ask counsel at Abel. And so they ended the matter. I am one of them that are peaceable and faithful in Israel, to seek it to destroy a city and a mother in Israel. Why wilt thou swallow up the inheritance of the Lord? And Joab answered, said, Far be it from me that I would swallow up or destroy. The matter is not so, but a man of Mount Ephraim, Sheba, the son of Berechiah by name, have lifted up his hand against the king, even against David. deliver him only, and I will depart from thy city. And the woman said unto Joab, Behold, his head shall be thrown unto thee over the wall. Then the woman went unto all the people in her wisdom, and they cut off the head of Sheba, son of Bukkiah, and cast it out to Joab. And he blew a trumpet, and they retired from the city, every man into his tent. And Joab returned to Jerusalem unto the king. Okay. Then it says, now Joab was over all the host of Israel, and Benaiah, the son of Jonadab, was over the Sharites and the Peleites, and Adrian was over the tribute, and Josaphat, the son of Ahalabid, was recorder, and Sheba was scribe, and Zodek and Adar were the priests, and Ira also, and Jairite were the chief rulers about David. Okay, so that was 2 Samuel chapter 20. Any comments? Any on what I just read? Anything come to light? Anybody want to shine light on? Okay, I think I saw something back here. Says, yeah, 3, verse 3, chapter 20, verse 3. David came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women, his concubines, when he had left. So these are 10 women that Absalom went into. They put a tent up, they set a tent up in the middle of Jerusalem, and Absalom went into all these women. So look what it says. It says, and concubines when he had left to keep the house, and he put them in the ward and fled and fed them, but he went not into them. He can't go in them anymore because they were defiled. This was a situation with Adam. It's how Adam sinned. He knew that the serpent that went into Eve, and then he came behind the serpent and went into Eve anyway. That's how he sinned. He knew she was defiled. So as it says, in the house, and he put them in the ward and fed them, but he went not in unto them. That they defiled. So they went not. So they were shut up until the day of their death, living in widowhood. Right there. So we know today ain't no such thing as widowhood. So anyway, so I'm in chapter 21. 7 sons of Saul hanged. Says, then there was a famine in the days of David, 3 years, year after year. And David inquired of the Lord. The Lord answered, it is for Saul and for his bloody house, because he slew the Gibeonites. And the king called the Gibeonites and said unto them, now the Gibeonites were not of the children of Israel, but of the women of the Amorites. And the children of Israel had sworn unto them, and Saul sought to slay them in his zeal to the children of Israel and Judah. Therefore David said unto the Gibeonites, what shall I do for you? And wherewith shall I make an atonement, that ye may bless the inheritance of the Lord? And the Gibeonites said unto him, we will have no silver nor gold of Saul, nor of his house, neither for us shall thou kill any man in Israel. And he said, what ye shall say, that will I do for you? And they answered the king, the men that consumed us and that devised against us, that we should be destroyed from remaining in any of the coasts of Israel. Let 7 men of his sons be delivered unto us, and we will hang them up upon the Lord, unto the Lord, in Gibeah of Saul, whom the Lord did choose. And the king said, I will give them. But the king spared Mithanax, whatever his name, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, because the Lord's oath that was between them, between David and Jonathan, the son of Saul. But the king took the 2 sons of Rezaphath, the daughter of Aiah, whom she bore unto Saul, Armona and Mishpah, and the 5 sons of Michelle, daughter of Saul, whom she brought up for Adriel, the son of Josiah, the Mizraite, whatever his name is, and he delivered them into the hands of the Gibeonites, and they hanged them on the hills before the Lord, and they fell all 7 together, and were put to death in the days of harvest, in the first days, in the beginning of the harvest. And Rizpah, the daughter of Ai, took sackcloth and spread it for her upon the rock, for the beginning of the harvest, until the water dropped upon them out of heaven, and suffered neither the birds of the air to rest on them by day, nor the beasts of the field by night. And it was told David that Rizpah, the daughter of Ai, the concubine of Saul, had done. And David went and took the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan and his son from the men of Jabash Gilead, which had stolen them from the streets of Bethshan, where the Philistines had hanged them when the Philistines had slain Saul and Gibeah. And he brought up from thence the bones of Saul and the bones of Jonathan his son, and they gathered the bones of them that were hanged. And the bones of Saul and Jonathan his sons buried they in the country of Benjamin in Zillah, in the sepulchre of Kish his father. And they performed all that the king commanded. And after that, God was entreated for the land. Okay. I say, moreover, the Philistines had yet war against Israel. David went down, and his servants with him, and fought against the Philistines. And David waxed faint. And Ishbah went, which was of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose spear weighed 300 shekels of brass in weight. He being girded with a new sword, thought to have slain David. But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, secured him and smote the Philistine and killed him. Then the men of David swore unto him, saying, Thou shalt go no more out with us to battle, that thou quenchest not the light of Israel. So the Philistine giant slain by David's men. And it came to pass after this that there was again a battle. The Philistines that go. Then Sheba, I think of that name, the Hushite slew Saph, which was the son of a giant. And there was again a battle in Gog with the Philistines, where Elam, the son of Jeragim, a Bethlehemite, slew the brother of Goliath, the Gittite, the staff of whose spear was like a weaver's beam. And there was yet a battle in Gath, where was a man of great stature that had on every hand 6 fingers, and every foot 6 toes, 24 in number. And he also was born to the giant. And when he defiled Israel, Jonathan, the son of Shimei, the brother of David, slew him. These 4 were born to the giant in Gath, and fell by the hands of David, by the hands of his servant. Okay, so that was chapter 21, 2 Samuel. Anybody got any comments on that before we close out? Okay, my comment is that over and over again, I keep hearing these so-called Bible scholars, so-called mores, saying that they want to keep trying to make the sons of God out to be self, the children of self. When the Bible says in chapter 6, that the sons of God went into the daughters of men, and giants were born, they want to say that those were the sons of self, because, like I showed you, Adam was the son of God, and that explains what I'm showing you in Genesis 1:26, where he created a man with a woman in 26. That wasn't Adam. Then he rested 7th day, came back on the 8th day, and then he made Adam. Adam had no woman, because Adam was just like the angels was. But then he saw that Adam needs a woman. And that's when Adam got Eve. It's 2 different men. The man in 1:26 is with a woman. And then he created a man from the dust of the ground. He didn't have no woman at first. And the Bible tells you Adam was the son of God. Okay? So then we see right here in this story right here in 2 Samuel 21, where these men that they fighting, they giants. They telling you they giants. They know that's what the Bible telling you, they giants. They want to keep on trying to excuse that and act as if there wasn't no giants in the history of the world and of the Bible. But we see right here, these men killing giants. Even the 33 men with David, they ascended from giants. You know, then you go men right here with 6 fingers and 12 fingers and 12 toes. But they want to keep on trying to make the sons of God out to be Sethians. That's ludicrous. Okay? Any comments on that? Yeah, let me okay. Shalom, sister. Shalom, Mike. And I want to say shalom to everybody else. And I'll see everybody on Tuesday night for our advanced Bible study at 8 o'clock on Prophets of Awakening. They for those that didn't know, they lifted that strike. So we back in business, thanks to the Most High. Okay. So with that being said, I want to say shalom. See everybody on Tuesday. Okay.